Say 39.
Number 1.
39.
1.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28. 27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18. 17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10. 9. 8.
7. 6.
5.
4.
3.
2.
1. It's time for mouthwash. Giddy up. Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty, fresh take on politics. And hey, we got a repeat offender, guest on our show, Becky Cash. She's been on before, and she gave me a call a couple weeks ago and says, hey, I want to talk about our children in our state and how there's things being done to our children that parents may or may not know about. And we're also going to touch on that case out in Brownsburg. And if you didn't notice there on the intro, we had a couple of their mugshots up there. Those people didn't look too bad to me, so I want to find out what they did. I don't know a whole lot about this case. I just know that they made a kid do something that sounds pretty bad. So we're going to look at that tonight, and we got small talk, and Mark's calling out a certain guy on the radio. Guy is the key word there. You just have to stay tuned to see what he's talking about there and how he was able to weave in this guy into this Brownsburg situation and how our children are being treated. I'm going to be interested to see that. And, we have the Becky Cash on here. She's a House of Representatives, fairly new to that. And I've been very impressed with her work down at the State House. She's been very thorough. She's been very good at what she does and presenting her bills. And I'm impressed with this freshman representative. So, but first I'm going to play a commercial, and then we're going to have Becky come on. And this is my lovely wife, because at the Mars Hill Arts Center here in Mars Hill, it's 5-year anniversary, August 4th, Friday. Well, I'll just let Lisa tell you about it, and then we'll talk to Becky after that. So here you go. Here's my lovely wife.
Hey, you guys, the Mars Hill Arts Center turns 5 years old this year, and we are hosting a party, a block party that is, on Friday night, August 4th, 6 to 9 p.m. We're going to have the band Fancy Sauce. We're going to have food, fire trucks, and fun, and we want you guys to join us. 2811 Mars Hill Street, Friday night, August 4th. See you there.
So, Becky, you need to bring that menagerie of a family of yours on down to the Arts Center on that Friday, because I know we're going to have crafts and bands, and it's closed down the street. It's fire truck. Oh, it's just going to be fabulous. So,
Would you say it's martial arts? She teaches.
Yeah, I know. People say I'm from Mooresville, Mars Hill, Martinsville. It's Mars Hill Arts Center. I know.
Nice. Okay.
A lot of people call me Josh because I say Josh Smith so fast. They say Josh. Okay, yeah.
I'll have to come and check it out for sure.
And Tiffany accuses me of making up words all the time. So I may not be the best person to be on any talk things or not, but sometimes I ask good questions. It's just sometimes I make up my own words. It's just how it is. I guess it's my own show, so I can do that. But that wouldn't work down at the State House, would it? They would tar and feather you or something if you.
It would be on a postcard. It would be on a postcard for sure.
You'd be a picture on a dartboard or something like that. So, but Becky, how are you doing tonight? And why don't you tell us how you're doing, and then tell us a little bit about yourself. Some of our viewers might know the famous Becky Cash, House of Representatives in District. What's your district? 35.
25.
25. I knew it was something like that, but there's so many of them. So yeah, go ahead and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing well. So right now we're out of session. Some like to claim we're a part-time legislature, but I don't know. I work all day, almost every day. So I try to balance that between my family. I have 6 kids. 4 of them have special medical needs, though I really should say 3 now because my son is doing phenomenal and doesn't really meet a diagnosis anymore. And yeah, so finished my first year as a legislator, first session as a legislator, and my husband and I took about 5 days off after session, and I've had 3 or 4 meetings every week since with everybody from housing issues to law enforcement to special education, and I love what I do.
Well, it is, they say part-time, but I think anyone that knows if you're on a council that they say part-time, it sure isn't that anymore. I think when they designed some of this stuff, they thought, oh, this would be good. People won't have cell phones, email, and everything else, and AI and all these things. Now you can run, but you can't hide. Back in the day, though, you could at least get away from it for a minute. But it's 24/7 now if you let it. So,
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Like I said, you've been on the show a couple times now. We really love having you on because you're entertaining and you're informational and you're all the things that we like on this show. So I'll go on. I just, but so I'm going to go ahead and play small talk and then we're going to get to it. So I want to get this. So
Okay.
I don't know what got into Mark Small, but let's just play it and see what you think here. So here you go. Here's a little small talk and this will give us something to talk about. So here you go. And then the panel will be on the other side. And we'll get right down to it. Becky will be on the hot seat.
Hi, I'm Mark Small. This is Small Talk. When you owe a duty to inform the government, stated differently, is there any instance in which you can be criminally charged for failing to say a crime is committed over there? Generally not. But when it comes to child neglect here in the state of Indiana, under Indiana Code 31-33-5-1, yeah, you owe that duty. Think about it. How many instances are there where somebody decides to report child neglect because there's a divorce going on and they're wanting to get really dirty? That's not real good. But on top of it, not only can a person be charged if they believe child neglect has occurred and they fail to report it, but they can do so anonymously and report it to either the police or DCS, Department of Child Services. Some of the people in DCS are great. A lot aren't. Doesn't put a lot of confidence in me that things are going to go well. On the other hand, what about if you've got, say, somebody hosts a show that advocates stuff that ends up getting people killed? We have a lot of mass shootings in this country. We really do. What happens if you've got a show like The Gun Guy Relford show here in central Indiana? It's on the busy 4 or 5 o'clock drive time on Saturdays. What about that? After mass shootings occur, should we be able to access the hard drives of people who are shooters to see if there's any pattern of shows there? Because here's the thing. Anybody with a shred of decency would want to say, wait a minute, am I doing something that's sparking these people to commit violent acts? I really don't want to do that. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be doing that with my show. I don't advocate violence. I'm Mark Small. Small Talk. Peace. Love, happiness.
Know what got into Mark, but he definitely did a little calling out there. So, hey, what am I doing out here? Becky Cash, you're supposed to be out here. Tiffany, you're supposed to be up there. So everybody get in their spots. I'll be down by Lucy because I feel I'm a little crazy tonight. This is a crazy section on the lower half here. So just watch out.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, that's right. I'm proud to be with you, Lucy. Proud to be with you. My conspiracy theory might even reflect a little bit of that. You just never know. So we're going to get into it here. I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question. Let Becky, the elephant in the room, so to speak, is this case out in Brownsburg. We're going to start out with that. So go ahead and give us the cliff notes on that and sort of what happened. And if you were paying attention at the start of our show, I did show the mugshots of these 2 ladies that one looked a little mean, but the other one looked like she really didn't have really much to do with it. So give us some background on this.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not going to comment on the whole Mark Small's Guy Relford thing, but the topic he was talking about in the first half of his segment about that failure to report child abuse. We're the home of the big USA gymnastics scandal, and I happen to have a bill that I will be filing again this year regarding that topic. So keep your eyes open on that. Regarding Brownsburg, so basically, let me first explain. I have District 25, which is all of Whitestown, most of Zionsville, a couple precincts in Lebanon. And I have 1/3 of Brownsburg, which is actually a population of about 23,000, just in that 1/3. So the school that we're going to talk about for that part of our segment is right outside my district, but kids from my district go to that school. And in addition, it happens to be the home of, well, we don't do that thing in this country where we send all kids that fit one criteria to one school. We might actually, but it happens to be the school where it seems like most, if not all, of the kids with severe special needs. There's a word they use for it, a life skills class, which is an interesting wording. It looks like the majority of them actually go to that school in the district. So basically what happened was that there was an incident. It happened in the cafeteria. So there were cameras that caught this. They didn't find it for 54 days, but there was a situation with a child who was nonverbal, 7 years old, I believe, who was forced to eat his own vomit. So as a mom with kids with special needs, having worked in the special needs community for a long time, I was actually in session. Rob Green is another legislator. He has a 6-year-old with autism, and every thought went through my head, and I'm sure many others, as to what possibly could have happened here. But it was so much more horrific, I think, than anybody could have imagined. This child was gagging. They told him, if you vomit, we're going to make you eat it. I think one specific teacher told him, if you vomit, we're going to make you eat it. My thought is, this is a kid with sensory issues. Like, he chewed it up, he spit it out. That wouldn't be okay either. But actually, this child projectile vomited. I mean, there was clearly something, not good going on, whether he has stomach issues or whether he was sick or whatever. And one teacher got the tray for him to vomit on. I don't know whether she grabbed it because she saw what was happening. So I think there's thought that she was complicit, but didn't actually, like, what I'm saying? Like, she grabbed the tray in the moment. Another one grabbed the spoon. And then I believe that 2 of the people who've been accused were there and saw it, did not actually do it, but did not report it, which goes into that failure to report. So 54 days later, a teacher was texting with the principal and requesting a building move. And in the process of the communication, she referenced multiple situations, and she referenced this situation. I'm actually really grateful that the principal acted, responded, and went, wait a minute, went and somebody found the tape, and they watched it because it could have been brushed completely under the carpet. They watched the tape. They immediately, it appears, made a report to the Department of Children and Family Services and the police. And then the ball started moving as to, what took place from there.
Yep.
So I'll be quiet and let you guys jump in.
It makes you wonder if there was more than just this incident. So I'm going to start out with Lucy tonight. I know she was last week, so I'm going to give Lucy the first crack at this. And Tiffany, you better be listening, because you're going to be going third, so you're going to may have to get creative on this one. Yeah, I know you got it. So Lucy, what are you hearing here?
I am so beyond disappointed that the people that saw that didn't beat the crap out of the people that were abusing that child. And the fact that it's gotten to that, abuse starts with small tests to see what it is you can get away with. And Becky, to think that could have been, any of your children, any of my children, and, I have a lot of friends that have nonverbal children. That is just absolutely insane. And I really have nothing to say other than I wish I was there, because I would have beat the crap out of him. And any decent human being should have done that. I'm sure that'll get taken care of once they get to jail, though.
What do you think about the 54 days? I mean,
I'm not surprised. We live in a society that children don't have a voice. And if you're nonverbal, you really don't have a voice. See, the problem is, and I wish John Jacobs were here along with Becky, because what he would say is, when you can't speak up for yourself, you're not viewed as human. It's easy to kill a baby because they can't say, please don't hurt me. It's easy to abuse somebody who can't say, please don't hurt me. People come home, they have a bad day, they kick the dog because the dog can't say, please don't hurt me. And so they've literally, those ladies probably wouldn't, I say ladies, those despicable pieces of human flesh, they probably wouldn't have made their own dog try to eat its own vomit. But they did that to a child. And they need street justice, period.
All right. My famous Lucy, you got a question? It's coming out right now.
Becky, Becky, is there anything in the legislature that could have even anticipated such an evil act? And if not, is there something that you might propose that is specifically geared at, this is so far beyond like a bullying bill, right? This is like an actual, let's try to stop and punish evildoers bill.
Right. Well, so, like I said, having special needs kids of my own, I have another daughter with serious medical issues who hasn't been able to speak for long periods of time, like over a year, can't advocate for herself. I've been in the hospital with her watching, them try to force things on her. So, I can literally visualize what took place in this. So, obviously, the report was made, the police stepped in, things are going to happen. I believe 2 of the teachers have lost their licenses. I know there's criminal charges. I don't know who's in jail, who's not. But for many, many years, I don't even know how long there's been discussion about, cameras in classrooms and such. In this situation, obviously, there was a camera, but it wasn't watched. Our suspicion is that, knowing what happens in schools, is that the only reason there was a camera is because it was in a quote unquote public space, right? They probably videotape cafeterias in case there's a fight or there's something like this going on. But there's such a huge backlash on the topic of even the idea of putting cameras in classrooms. So like you said, we don't have any idea what else has happened there or any other school, right? We don't have any idea because they're not there. So I actually have spent a good portion of the post-legislative session meeting with the ARC of Indiana, with people in special education, with the head of the education committee, talking with the legislative attorneys, and there will be a special education bill that will come forward. I have that I'm not getting a pushback yet, but I'm sure there's going to be things in that bill that is going to get a lot of pushback. And we're just really going to need the community to step up, because I think with what's going on in Indiana, not just in this situation, the time is now. So now they still have to watch the videos. And so I would like to propose in the legislation that they have to, we'll have to define how frequently, but somebody needs to periodically be watching those videos, and not like every 2 months.
54 days.
Yeah, I had another school actually tell me that they never would have found it at that school because they only keep their recordings for 7 days. That is so far not acceptable.
Yeah, especially in these times today where you can keep stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up a little bit here to Jordan, and add the bullying thing in there. I heard Lucy talk about that, and wow, she disappeared. It's a magical disappearing Lucy trick. So Jordan, I'm going to open it up a little bit more to expand on the questioning of what parents should and shouldn't know, and it's come to my attention on the bullying. I got a granddaughter that's being bullied at school. And you know what? When a kid gets bullied at school, guess what? They bring it home and bully their little sister or little brother. And so go ahead, Jordan. You could fashion up any kind of question you want out of that.
Quite honestly, when you go after any type of group of folks, and particularly when you think that they're vulnerable, it should be seen as a very heinous crime. That's first and foremost. And the behavior in which they exuded, in what activities they had that child partake in, shows that was just a pure evilness. and was inhumane treatment. And you know, those liberals love to scream hate crimes on everything, but this is truly a hate crime. You know, this person is someone who cannot defend themselves adequately as a normal human would on a basis. So they're taking advantage of something that we, the public, put our trust in for them to educate them, to make life easier for them. They're making their lives a lot harder. And what folks don't understand, you know, special needs, they can commit suicide too. So this type of behavior can still send a message. They may not know how to talk about it. And so there needs to be a strong example made with these young ladies for this, because they're not women. Women carry themselves in a very honorable manner. And obviously they still have a lot to learn with this lesson. So clearly there needs to be something thrown at them. There needs to be a clear example other than just taking their licenses and idly standing by and idly watching it. So that makes me wonder then, how many other times has a child been abused, touched, or bullied, and the teachers idly watched it because they didn't want to deal with the paperwork, or they're not being paid enough for it, or they're going through the emotions themselves. This is why parents need to take care of their kids, and this is why we should allocate our resources to making sure that parents can take care of their children the way they see fit. Unfortunately, the village cannot take care of our kids anymore, and we should not be trusting this Wild West, this Blade Runner type society to raise our kids. I mean, don't forget, folks, last week we were talking about deciding if your child can say certain things in school, and this issue, you got liberals over on the left fighting over if your child should have all types of names, this, that, and the other, and taking the rights from parents away. This is just another thing in their book, and we have to say enough is enough. So Becky Cash, my thing that I would suggest to do is throw the hammer at the legislator. We don't protect the teachers enough, one thing. And two, there is such a huge gap in between oversight of making sure that somebody, a third party company, not the township, not the school board, I'm sorry, but I don't trust you. Parents will understand. The ones who fight the school board on a daily basis, they understand what I mean. But having a third party review, watch these videos, ask questions. It will a normal common citizen looking at this, what they think that this is some type of abuse. And if it is, then you need to recommend this to law enforcement or have updated procedures in your operating manual that will deal with this directly, and don't wait until it just happens to deal with it. Deal with it beforehand. Be proactive. I'm tired of
Lucy. All right, Lucy, you're going to have a question, okay?
The question is that
I have to remind you
Cash,
about the question.
Becky, would you be opposed? Would you be opposed to supporting legislation to make any type of crime like this against special needs or any children that are in considered a frail state a hate crime? Would you consider this to be a form of a hate crime?
Well, people who don't like hate crimes will not like my answer, but yes, absolutely, because this is a discussion that some of the legislators and I who have special needs kids, we have 4 freshmen with special needs children, which is really very interesting. But parents of kids with special needs, it's one thing to say to a parent of a quote unquote typical child, whatever that means now, right? Oh, well, you should homeschool them, which not everybody is able to do that, or you should go put them in a private school, or you should go here or there. Being a mother who has literally had periods of our lives, like years, where we could barely go out, barely leave the house, we desperately rely on these teachers who, most of these 5 were all trained in special needs. Like, I'm thinking, was this a 21-year-old just out of school who was just completely overwhelmed? That, of course, was before we knew the gravity of what happened. But parents desperately need help. And if we can't even rely on our teachers and our behavioral therapists, because one of them was an ABA therapist, to protect our children, that is literally terrifying. So yes, I mean, this was a severely special needs nonverbal child, and I cannot imagine for the life of me that a teacher would have done this to a child that they thought for 1 minute could have gone home and told.
Okay, Becky, I'm going to give you the Lucy treatment because you didn't answer the question.
Yes, my answer was yes.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, good. All
yes,
right, we got that out of the way.
Hate crime.
Tiffany's been waiting patiently by, and I think everybody already took all the good questions, but I bet you Tiffany's got a good question.
I think Tiffany's on top of it.
It's on top. So, Becky, I was listening to you tell the story. I'm absolutely horrified. I mean, horrible. And I think both Lucy and Jordan hit it on the head. Like, how many other times did these people do things to children, and it just so happened that they got caught this time? So that's something that is weighing on me, because usually people don't get caught the first time they do something. You know, they know their safety, they know what's going on. So, but it sounds like assault. Was the police called? Was there any kind of law enforcement involved in this?
Yes. So as soon as the principal figured out that something happened, they went and watched the video, and police were called immediately. There's 2 mug shots. So the 2 teachers, the one who forced the child to eat the vomit. I don't know if the other one was the one who grabbed the tray or grabbed the spoon or such. Both of them were arrested because there's mug shots of them. I'm not certain what the status is with the other 3 teachers or aides or whoever they were. I know that they're not working in Brownsburg schools. I know that they were minimally suspended, put on leave or such. So yes, the police are involved. Yes, there's attorneys involved. I've heard interviews with the attorneys for the family. I can't even imagine how devastated. Well, I can't imagine how devastated the family is. And I actually did attend the Brownsburg school board meeting where many parents in tears came forward and just told story after story of how their children were being treated, how scared they were to send their kids back to school. And then afterwards, I was able to talk to some of those families out in the parking lot. And, it's obviously completely atrocious. But as I told John, there's stuff going on throughout the entire state. I think that this opened a Pandora's box of other things going on throughout the state in schools. And there are very good schools and there are very good teachers, but we can't whitewash what is going on.
You know what? One of the things, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I have my blue shirt on to represent Democrats because blue is I'm going to be the guy in the blue tonight. So I'm a Democrat. I'm like, well, so what? These people, they made a mistake. We should, they should be punished or whatever. But hey, we're losing 5 teachers. We're losing 5. Easy. We're losing 5 teachers here. Can they be rehabilitated? Did they not learn their lesson? Can we put them back in the game? And then I'll share a story with my wife's been helping out with some summer school stuff. And she went in one day and the kids were just belligerent. I mean, she came home and I had to talk her down off the ledge. So she got on her keyboard and typed in there, said, hey, these kids weren't behaving very well. But she didn't get an answer back from them. But the next time she went back, those kids were snippety-snappity all up in their chairs and not back talking. So, I mean, does anybody going to give a little bit of mercy to these people? I mean, I know this is awful, but as far as kids pushing you to that limit, I mean, is there something we can do in the system that would help, give somebody an outlet? I mean, because this sounds like somebody snapped. Not only one person, but a lot of people snapped. They'd had enough. And maybe they didn't like their job. Maybe their husband yelled at whatever, but they obviously did it in the wrong way. But, like I said, I got the blue shirt on tonight, so I have to ask that question.
John?
Right. Well, if my neighbor's dog is barking nonstop and I snap and I kill my neighbor's dog, there's probably going to be police called and I'm probably going to be arrested. This is so far beyond snapping. This wasn't one 21-year-old recent graduate who was just so overwhelmed and had no support. There were 5 people involved here, people who didn't perform the act, who didn't report it. And I will tell you that on my Facebook page for my campaign, I very, very rarely get any Democrats who have anything nice to say to me or agree with me on anything. But not even the Democrats went after the response on this. There is such a lack of a tolerance for abuse of special needs children that I have not seen sympathy or had anybody make any comments with any any defense at all in any way, shape, or form. I mean, this is so far beyond that.
So what you're saying is I picked a bad show to be the Democrat on. Okay.
Yes.
So Lucy, I hear you on that too. Now you're libertarian. You're easy-go-lucky. If it's not hurting somebody else, but are you give somebody another chance? Or no, you're not. You're not. You put him.
Well,
in
here's the thing.
Infringe on someone's liberties. Give it to him, Lucy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so as a libertarian, the foundation of my beliefs fall into the NAP, the non-aggression principle, which is that you don't hurt people and you don't take their stuff. It's very much the golden rule. I'm a Christian. I believe in, following the 10 Commandments, and, but we do make a distinction between murder and kill, right? It's not thou shalt not kill, it's thou shalt not murder. When you have, a pedophile, when you have a dog that's rabid, you put them down. And by the way, I don't believe in capital punishment because I don't believe we should be giving the state the ability to make the decision on whether or not a human being should die, but you can certainly lock them up for. I mean, that is one of the things as a taxpayer that we pay for. And maybe if we take some of the people that are in there for nonviolent crimes like cannabis, and we take them out, we can actually put in, despicable people like this, the people that actually should be separated from society because they are a danger. This is not one incident. They didn't, wake up one day and make a kid eat his vomit. No, there were all kinds of incidents that were leading up to that. Otherwise, if this had been a single incident, then the bystanders would not have colluded. They would not have approved by not speaking up. They've seen this behavior before and silently approved of it.
They would have stopped it. They would have stopped it.
If it was a single incident, they would have been shocked. They would have been shocked.
Well, it is very shocking. So how do you? I just don't know how you get from there to there. I don't see how you get. Oh, this is going to be a good idea. Let's make this kid eat. That's just beyond. It's just very unbelievable
because they didn't look at the child as human.
But
so what's that, Jordan?
The child, he was literally there for their amusement. I mean, no offense, and you should never judge someone by their appearance. But in this case, they put themselves in the jury to be judged by their peers. So in this case, I wouldn't have trusted them to begin with around these children. And this just shows that there is an issue, this giant vacuum to fill these jobs for teachers, and they may not be the right people for the job. Back in school, I remember that when you saw an elementary school teacher, they were the light of the world. There was a relationship that a parent had with it. And 20 years later, you're telling me that this career is now one of the most hated careers. It's ground zero for every social issue being fought. And now on top of it, we're making children throw up as this is Hunger Games or something like that for an amusement. It's sick. It's inhumane. So they should be treated as inhumane.
They should
be measured by the same measurement in which they were used and then some, if I'm not mistaken.
It's the teachers union protecting them.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we have this is in a place where it would be bad because it will protect them.
One I want to put up there. This is what Adam simply says. They just hated this kid. So, they were probably, he couldn't speak out. So they were probably doing other things. And like I said, 54 days went by after this happened to him. He had to think
and
that nobody cared.
5 people.
Well, imagine going back to the classroom the day afterwards. Imagine that child having to see his abusers every day for 54 days. He was in a prison. He was in his own prison. Saw and said, "Oh my God, this has been happening," and we had no idea. Well, I think now that you are aware, what are we going to do now for this mental anguish this child was going through, and no one remediated it for him? I'm just saying, there's so many questions now that have just opened this up for parents, and they should use this as ammunition.
And parents all over the state are terrified to send their kids back.
Yeah. So Tiffany, you've got a daughter. She's in college now. I mean, is there a question or a comment you might have about when, because it's been a few years since your daughter was in the grade school and that. Do you know? I mean, you're with this library board. I'm not done with the question yet. I'm going to set this up for you.
Okay.
How much difference do you see from now and then? Because you're on the library board up there, and you're sort of seeing how people are raising their kids. When I had racehorses, they said there's not problem racehorses, they're just problem trainers. In this regard, is their kids aren't the problem. Is this a parent problem? So
I'll go back to the first part of that question. When Michaela was little, she was maybe 3. There was an incident at a daycare, and she was 3, and I asked her a question, and then I asked her the question in little kid terms, and she told me something. Pew! We were out of there, went straight to the police station. And that was number one, because I believed my child, and she told me what she saw. I was like, we're out of there. And then after that, she was never in another home daycare. We went straight to school. Number two, I was always a very active and involved parent in school. When Michaela was at Cathedral, one of her friends said, "What does your mom teach?" She's like, "She's not a teacher here. She's just here." But I think that was really important, because like I was here, I was divorced, I was a single mom, I'm brown, Michaela's mixed, and I never wanted any teacher, anyone to think that my child did not have an advocate, that there wasn't somebody who was going to show up and partner with a parent, partner with a teacher to help to make sure my child had the best experience. Now, when we get to raising children, I think we have to look at like generational and societal influences, because we have to look at the way that certain generations were raised. I was out door knocking and I met this kid, and he was in his early 30s, and he was that generation that got a trophy for everything. Everybody got and so it's like I think after a while you see what easy times make soft people, and people don't understand that children need discipline and standards and things like that. In this case, with a child with special needs, I mean, the name kind of says it all right there, special needs, that you can't treat these children the way that you treat other children, and you have to be attuned to them. I have never really been around children with special needs, because I don't really, I teach Sunday school. I had deaf kids in my class one year, and I would always have an interpreter there because I couldn't meet their needs. But everybody had a sign name. We learned the Our Father. We did what we could to work with them. But when you sign up to work with that population of children, you've got to have a heart for it. You can't be there for the money. You've got to, get your special training, and you can't snap. Whatever happened to this little boy or this child, it happened between him and his lunch tray. One, that's his personal space. Like, why would something that happened between me and my lunch tray cause somebody to snap? That doesn't make sense. That's evil. It's hatred. It's mean. And it's really abuse. And I have a hard part with the abuse part of it. That's the thing. It's like, it was abuse, and it was abuse in front of a lot of people. And it's kind of that gang mentality a little bit, when things kind of get out of hand and people, no one says, "Hey guys, stop. What's going on?" So my heart goes out to them. And I just know that maybe this will make a better population of parents.
Yeah. Well, I just noticed something that you and Becky have in common. You both have daughters named Michaela.
Yeah, your daughter's in the chat, but there was a question in there from Adam when you talked about people sharing experiences at the school board meeting. What kind of events were they? What kind of altercations or issues were they bringing up?
Yeah. So, and this actually goes into statewide what's come up with this. So there were parents going up there talking about their children being put in seclusion, being restrained. One parent shared with me afterwards that their child, again, about 6 or 7 years old, had been put in a seclusion room alone by themselves for a significant amount of time. And I don't mean 15, 20 minutes. It was hours. I don't remember exactly how long it was. And I asked the parent, I said, not that this will be okay, but I was trying to frame the situation. And I said, did they claim your child was a danger to themselves or somebody else? And they said, no, he ripped up a piece of paper. And so what is now starting to come out, not just at Brownsburg, statewide, probably not every school, but it's systemic enough that I'm going to say statewide, is that we have rules and laws in Indiana, for example, that you can't put children in a seclusion room except under very, very specific criteria for very small amounts of time. So schools that have seclusion rooms are calling them timeout rooms, and they're not calling parents. And So there was a lot of discussion about that, a lot of discussion about, my child is nonverbal when they come home crying, or they come home and they're really fussy. Are they just fussy? How do I know that something didn't happen to them? There was somebody asked the question, if my child comes home and on a letter board, those who are familiar with this know that one way that a nonverbal child can communicate is by pointing to letters on a letterboard. If my child says on a letterboard that something happened to them, are you going to start believing them? Because that's a situation that happens where, in general, children aren't believed. Verbal, nonverbal, that's a whole societal issue there, where we don't lean on the side of believing children in situations like this. There have been 2 articles that were done by WFYI, I think it was, talking about the numbers of seclusions and restraints that are happening. But all of this stuff was coming up in Brownsburg. The school board members who spoke, you could see horror in them at what happened. Very, very concerned, very, we're going to do something about this. There was, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I can't judge somebody's heart, but somebody commented that they didn't feel that the formal statement that was made by the administration was actually that they were sorry. So there was definitely a lot of feeling about, what is going to happen. There's a feeling of fear there. And so what's come through that is things that are coming out statewide. I will just really quickly just say there is a state board that was created a couple of years ago to review the number of seclusions and restraints that are happening in schools. And what has come out since this time is that board does not meet. They have not been collecting the data on the number of seclusions and restraints that are happening in schools. There's a complete failure on the part of the oversight, and the whole purpose of creating that board was to collect the data of how many seclusions and restraints are happening so that the Department of Education could figure out what additional training is needed in order to meet the needs of special needs children. And that has completely fallen through the cracks. That it was not happening at all. And our state, I'm just going to say it, our state has left these kids high and dry. Legislation was passed to attempt to figure this out. And
it's not figured out. And Becky, you're passionate about this, obviously, because you have personal experience with this. Right. And Sabrina Kilgore, she one of our viewers, she talks about, she's a speech therapist, and she talks about there's just a shortage of teachers and therapists and everything. And, I get 2 calls a day because I substitute teacher, and they're looking for building subs. And what a building sub is basically somebody they want to turn into a pizza. They want to turn me into a pizza all year. So, they want to, and they call it a building sub, when in reality, you're a teacher. They are so desperate to get folks to do this. So I'm wondering if this isn't part of the issue that we're having, because there's just not enough people out there. And I guess I'm going to call the Lucy on me. I'm going to say, I got a question here. What do we do to make teaching more attractive? I knew that would make everybody be quiet.
Well, are you asking me or the panel?
Yes. Yes. Like Tiffany says, show me the money.
Well, good teachers are leaving, and so we hear all kinds of stories about teachers that are being reprimanded for the way they've been teaching for 20, 25 years. Jordan referred to the social issues that are taking place. A lot of good teachers are leaving. The speech therapist, assuming they're from in Indiana, they know there's an enormous shortage of speech therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists in the schools. That was interesting. Some legislation was proposed actually by a Democrat that I did sign on to, and then the Special Education Association stepped in and said, no, they didn't want the legislation. So we're trying to figure that out. Actually, the sheriff of Hendricks County, his wife is a speech pathologist, who reached out to me, and I said, yeah, they fought us on the legislation. So, I think that people hopefully go into teaching because they love children, or they leave quickly, or, they love that. The conversation was brought up about kids being out of control. It sounds like kids are out of control in schools, but kids weren't born that way. And so there's just a much bigger issue. I mean, I think that teachers want to teach, and I think that we can make teaching more attractive again. I come from an entire family of public school teachers in Ohio who love teaching. They genuinely love teaching. They don't like paperwork, but they love teaching. They genuinely care. My sister's a special education teacher, and they just want to teach. And so if we could just get back to letting teachers do what they're so good at. One suggestion actually from the ARC of Indiana is to look at, can we bring in behavioral specialists into the school system? So that's something that we're going to look at. I mean, these are the people who are trained. So if there really is a behavior issue, I don't consider ripping up a piece of paper to be a significant behavior issue. But for the entire population, not just special needs kids. So,
yep. So, we got Beth Mackey in the chat here. It looks like she's used to be a teacher, and Tiffany, she answered your question, not enough money in the world to make her go back to it. And she's talking about the social, our schools have become social incubators is one of the problems, and discipline, frankly. So Tiffany, how much did you think a teacher should make, Tiffany? How is that a 6-figure job these days? Is that how we're going to get them? You're muted. I see you don't want to answer the question.
I'm sorry.
You can get out of it all you want.
If it's a 6-figure job, you got to show me a 6-figure teacher.
Oh, that's a good one. That might be the quote of the show. I don't know.
But you know what I'm saying? You want somebody who's highly skilled, highly prepared, executive presence, a great, not emotional, somebody who's very logical, somebody who can deal with a lot of crap. You know what I'm saying? And you find those skills in a lot of other professionals. Sometimes people teach because somebody told me this yesterday, they couldn't be pre-med, they couldn't be pre-law. They were like, well, I might as well teach. Those are not, some of them probably are wonderful teachers, but, we got to get to the cream of the crop. I think some of our school systems, this is to what Beth was saying about the money not making a difference, is some of these school systems need to say, we're going to be the number one destination for teachers. And then you act accordingly. It's like, you make sure that they're trained, that they're compensated well, that the environment there, that you're disciplining children, that parents are included. Sounds like most parents probably need to rotate through the classroom, spend a day in the classroom so they can see how their kids are. But you've got to.
It would be nice if they would let them back in.
Well, they need to let them back in. If these kids are crazy, nobody ever acted crazy with their mom at the back of the classroom. No child ever did that. Because somebody was getting worn out when they
I got this bump on my head over here.
Right. But Becky, I wanted to say something. So when you guys craft this legislation for our special needs kids and to better meet their needs, if I could add just a little piece of fat to the barrel. I know that I have 2 girlfriends here in Fishers, and they have special needs children that are now adults. And there's something about the way some law is written in the state of Indiana such that you can't have a building with apartments for special needs people because it's considered like an inpatient unit, kind of like a dorm. We can talk about it offline. But
yeah, I would like to know what that the IC code is. I'd love to look at that.
Sure. So essentially what it says is that their children cannot live on their own in a community because it's considered more like a mental health kind of community, kind of like a hospital type environment. But what they're trying to do is get some legislation so that they can use their disability money to pay for their housing and maybe do some type of community type living where you're just able to kind of pool resources. But we can talk more about it. But
let's talk about that. I love obviously not talking about group homes because we have those, and no parent that I know with a kid with special needs wants their special needs an adult in a group home.
Because these are folks, Hamilton County, a little bit more affluent, but they recognize that the state met their needs up until their child graduated. And now for long term with them being adults, there's a gap. So just being able to better use their resources. But I'll talk to you more about it.
Yeah. And I want to add to that because, we had Central State, we had Newcastle, we had Muscatatuck. I had family members in each of those. And in the 90s, the governor decided we don't need those anymore. Because back in the day, if you had a special needs kid and, you just really didn't, you could just make them a ward of the state. And that was what we did. And then when we closed those down now, I help serve homeless on the streets, and there's several people that we serve that are just wandering around that really need help. Now, how do we, it doesn't seem like we've done a very good balancing act in that thing. Do I think that we need institutions open back up like that before? Because the state didn't do a very good job doing it. But Becky, do you have a happy place do you have a solution for what we could do to alleviate this problem where we're just letting everybody be on their own?
Legislation that if the police picked up a homeless
we
person,
lost her audio.
Oh,
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay.
John can't hear you. Can you hear him,
Okay,
Lucy?
I can hear you.
Maybe we lost John.
Maybe he looks frozen. Actually,
Lisa found the mute button.
Jordan, can we hear you?
Yeah, you can hear me.
All right. So,
John, can you hear us? No, we can't hear you.
Houston,
I'm going to answer the question. We did pass legislation that if the
hey,
police...
John, log out and call back in. I'll send you the link.
That would kill us all.
You guys probably love this.
Oh, we do. Oh, yeah.
You want me to answer the question?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so legislation was passed in this last legislative session. It was legislation that was more on the criminal justice side, that if the police pick up someone who's homeless because they've, created a nuisance or something, and it's clear that there's a mental health issue, they can take them to a facility for mental health instead of taking them to a jail. The sheriffs were saying, look, our jails are full of people who are homeless. That's become our mental health facilities. Legislation was passed regarding that, but I do agree. I'm concerned that we didn't do a very good job of our mental health facilities years ago when they shut down. There were horrible abuses taking place in them. I'm very hopeful that our mental health facilities aren't doing that now, but I don't know if that answers the question, because I don't know if that's what John was talking about or if he's just talking about our homeless crisis in general, which is a whole housing issue, I can come back and talk about any issue you want. I do want to, and it's not my show, so forgive me. I just want to get this in here. There has been discussions among some of us legislators and, quite honestly, some of the university presidents and such, about the fact that they're the ones who are cranking out these teachers. They're the ones who have changed the way they're teaching teachers to teach. And so, there was a discussion about our teachers even being prepared to go into classrooms. They're certainly being taught at universities to teach more than just math, reading, science, this and that. But this goes into an entire discussion about what should be in a university curriculum to prepare teachers and I think many teachers don't feel prepared to be in the classroom anymore. There's so much more to this conversation. Even for non-special needs kids, it's really it's a mess.
Yeah, I think that the dream.
Oh, John's back. Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Hey.
my ear. I think stuff died here. I'm by Lucy. Technical difficulties. I think what's not lining up here is that when you're young and you want to be a teacher, that dream of being a teacher, and then when you get to the reality, it ain't what you dreamed. It's not what you heard about the good old days. It's a lot of grind. So, I guess we need to do a better job
marketing.
marketing.
The center of a Tootsie Roll Pop. That stuff sticks to your teeth.
Yeah, we'll solve that question later. Maybe I'll use the magic 8-ball to see how many licks it takes to get to the center of it.
But it's difficult when we even talk about behavioral issues, because when I was a kid in school, I'm 48. So when I was a kid in school, you did not mess with a teacher and you really didn't mess with a substitute, right? Like the teachers would say, there's a substitute coming tomorrow. If you mess with that substitute, there's no recess, there's no nothing. Our parents knew. Nowadays, like, this might sound really horrible to say, but do I even want to send, I don't have a 7-year-old, but do I want to send my 7 or 9-year-old or 12-year-old into a school if I'm concerned about their safety, which I'm by no means saying that every school is a safety risk. But if I am, there's that balance for me as a mom at this point in time that I don't want my kid abused. I don't want them mistreated. So there's that balance of when my daughter goes to Taekwondo, utter respect for Master Yu, right?
Yes.
But Master Yu has utter respect for her. Like, I mean, it is a beautiful thing to see. But you know, where is that balance? I mean, there is just so much. There's so much to this. You know, I want my kids.
Where is the sweet spot? It is not. If it was a simple problem, we would have been able to solve it. It's not on the show, but it is.
If
not.
John Schmitz is their substitute teacher, they better behave, or John, I want you to
Yeah,
call
you
me
got
and tell
that
me.
right. AA Ron and Balaki. I will flat,
That's
break
funny.
a clipboard on your head.
I remember in elementary school, we had a sub and we rode that lady like a moped.
We all did that.
And I think our teacher was out having some surgery. Lord, it was like Animal House up in that 5th grade class. I mean, and then when our teacher got back, we got in trouble. We didn't have PE. We had to sit at our desk with our heads down. Nowadays, if you did that to me, I'd be like, yes.
Write sentences, write 100 times. I will be quiet in the cafeteria when Mrs. So-and-so gets up at the bell.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like she had ways for us to respect her and to get her point across. And then, like, going to see the principal, capital punishment, that was reserved for the worst of the worst. So, it's like in our HSC schools, there was a conversation about our dress codes, and I'm not an expert there, but some people were like, well, it's already in the dress code, they just need to enforce it. And so it's one of those things. It's like sometimes enforcing rules is very unpopular. I was in the military. I'm really used to being unpopular, but sometimes you have to be the person to say, this is the dress code, you're violating the dress code. I have to give you some discipline, and somebody has to do it. And somebody has to be consistent until they're able to reel some of these kids in. It's never going to change.
I had 2nd graders for 3 days in a row. And by the 3rd day, the other teachers were coming in saying, you're going to have to calm this Animal House down. But kids have got a lot of energy. That's my thing. And honestly, I think a lot of adults forget what it's like to be a kid. And I think if we could put our little kid brain back in, and think like a kid, it would be good. And which
I was a
nerd.
I was a nerd, so all I wanted to do was my schoolwork, and I hated PE. I mean, I was the last one picked for kickball. It was a whole. It was a whole thing.
When you run, did you have your arms like this?
Oh my gosh! This is something that never let me live down. It was 5th grade, and we had a race, and I raced against Katish Griffin. She's one of my Facebook friends. She had on a dress and dress shoes, and she beat me. Oh my Jesus. They would never let me live.
I would have never told that story.
Seeing her pass me in her dress.
You got beaten her Sunday dress.
No street cred. I lost all my credibility that day.
Oh, well.
And look at you now. Look at you now on the library board. I mean, I was very unpopular, and look at me now.
Yay!
For better or worse.
Official, a legislator.
Yeah, this show's turned into the Misfit Toys on the North Pole. So, but you know what? An hour goes quick on this show, and we're going to have to wind it up here. And I think we've brought some awareness to our situation. I would love to see some solutions on things, and I know it's not going to be easy. But I do think it's across the board. It's not just with special needs. I think it's across the board. We're going to have to attract, give teachers a reason to teach. I know a lot of people that have quit. I know I only volunteer to sub in 2 townships here in Marion County, and there is 100 openings every day, pretty much.
Oh, wow.
So there's some classrooms that are getting juggled around, and I would say, I'm a baby boomer. I don't think anybody else. Becky, you're close. You're Z. I'm the only baby boomer, so I'm going to make a challenge to the baby boomers.
Tell him, Boomer.
Boomer, you got to get out there and spread your wisdom to these kids. I want you to get out there and substitute teach at least once a month. And I think that legislators, they should have to teach once or twice a year to go see what's going on. And then maybe that'll help you figure
I'd
it
be
out.
open if any of my schools in my district want me, but I don't know if they'll let me in. So, I mean.
You'd be surprised. They let a bum like me in there. You're gold. So
I went to
but one day a year, they would be like, you want to fill out paperwork for one day? I'll volunteer. Can I have the kindergartners? I'll volunteer.
You'll catch cold in that class. But the thing that I think is interesting, I think, John, you're right. People do need to volunteer in their schools, and especially with high schoolers, because these are kids. This is the immediate future. Yes. Like there are things that they don't know, they don't understand. Let's be there to have a conversation, talk about your job, talk about your path from high school to wherever you are. There is 100% a need in that space. I'm on my 3rd high school intern right now. I'll have a 4th starting when the school year starts. I love the time that I spend with them because I interact with them as professionals. I'm not going to coddle you. I'm not going to, pat your hand and tell you everything's going to be okay. It's like, no, like you're here to work, come up with a campaign. You're going to do it and we're going to work together. And then I need you to do this and I need you to do the other things. And one of the things that's interesting, when we interviewed interns this year, and I told the kids straight up front, this is how it is. And this one girl was like, oh, this is so good. I need discipline. I was like,
wow,
you got it. They want somebody to do this. My intern last year, when he showed up, I was like, you need to buy a belt and you need a shirt with a collar. He needed somebody to tell him that. So
maybe you could help me, Tiffany. Maybe you could help me with my issues and stuff. I need a collar and a belt and all that.
Well, if you show up to work with me, you doggone straight.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I have a background in youth ministry, and I loved the middle school kids. And people are like, "You like the middle school?" I'm like, "They're like Play-Doh. They're so great."
You can trick them. You can trick them all day. It's easy. 7th grade, that's my bet. 2nd grade, I'm probably banned from that, but 7th grade's good. Most of the high school ones I've had, they're like on the phone, whatever. And I've tried to be, but I've had study hall and some other things than that. So maybe not the best class for high school.
I see these kids in church, they're capable of sitting and behaving. So that's something to be said. I mean, if kids were really that out of control, we have a very active church with, I think, 1,800, 2,000 families, lots and lots of kids. And I can tell you, these kids that are apparently out of control in schools, they are not out of control when they're at school. Our youth ministers aren't saying that they're out of control. So it
says like Beth Mackey and that respect. You've got to instill respect for them. You respect them, they respect you. This is the space that we're in. If you don't give them a reason to respect you, they'll run all over you.
Yeah,
they'll be in your purse counting your money.
Former teacher Beth Mackey talks about she would go back to teach at a Christian school, but probably the public school not so much. So I guess a question for another show might be, well, why do people, what's the difference between a Christian school and a public school? Why doesn't the public school?
Are you serious? There's a huge difference.
Take you out.
We need to do a show on
what
this.
You're trying to say is the parents got some skin in the game. Oh, I get it.
Skin.
Well, and they can be kicked. They can be kicked out too. But you should bring Beth Mackey on. She knows a lot about a lot.
If they kick your kid out, they have to give you your money back. It's very rare that they're kicking kids out of private school.
True. I think
they will work with them. Trust me.
Like Park Tutor, like 20K for Park Tutor and Brebeuf. $20,000 for your high school kid, plus that 63 or whatever goes with it. That's a lot. That's like college.
Cardinal Ritter doesn't cost that much.
No, it doesn't. It's on 30th Street, right?
I know, because I have too many kids to pay for those $20,000 a year schools.
Yeah, I think Ron Colley's around 9, something like that. So, but still, I guess it's bottom line is you get what you pay for, right? All
Well,
right,
we have
group.
vouchers. 98% of Indiana families qualify for.
What is
school
the
choice
cutoff for
vouchers.
vouchers, Becky?
Yeah, that's what we want,
A
vouchers.
family of 4, and we can talk about school choice another day, but family of 4 can make $220,000 a year. A family of 6 is $330,000. I mean, it's, and if you're above that, then I think we're at 97, 98% of Indiana families qualify now for school choice vouchers. I will tell you that on the last 2 days of session, I was literally getting text messages from people in my district going, "You're going to pass that, right? You're going to pass that, right? Please tell me." And the party that was thrown at Bethesda Christian School in Brownsburg when that bill passed, I think was, which I think Beth's kids might be there, but I'm told Bethesda's almost completely full at this point in time. They were probably close to it anyways, but I mean, a lot of families were like, "Oh my gosh."
It is definitely much popular. I know people on both sides of this issue, and the public school backers, so to speak, they think they think more money is going to help their situation when, I'm sorry, I don't want to hurt their feelings, but they really need to dig down and figure out how to be better. And I said that.
Can I also just say this for the record? Charter schools are public schools. People have got to stop saying, "Why are you giving all that money to charter schools?" They are public schools. They are predominantly in minority communities. There are more minority children in charter schools in Marion County right now than there are in the traditional public schools. These families came and testified. They were like, "Please, there's holes in our roofs. Please give us the money that would have gone to the other schools." Charter schools are public schools. I cannot say it enough. So people have got to stop saying that charter schools should not be getting this money. They are public schools.
Yeah,
it seems like there's an awful lot of fighting over money and not a lot of fighting over how we can treat our kids better. All right, with that being said, we're going to go to the conspiracy. Becky, you're an elected official. You do not have to stick around for this conspiracy theory. It's your own, it's your own political suicide.
I've been down the rabbit hole long before any of y'all were down the rabbit hole.
All right, that's all I needed to hear.
Not Lucy. Lucy and I.
Well, you're not going to be on the hot seat anymore. But Becky, I want to thank you for coming on tonight before we get to the part where we got tinfoil hats, because it's hard to edit out a tinfoil hat. So, Becky, we thank you for coming on tonight and showing your insight and your passion for all of our children in Indiana, and especially the special needs. And we hope you get reelected and you can continue your fight for the kids of Indiana. So go fight, win. All right, now I'm going to play the silliness. So get ready for that. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Get ready. Hey, y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out, and let's see what's going on this week. All right. A lot of buttons to push and whatnot in there. So, all right, we got through that. That was a pretty intense conversation. I tell you, that's, the situation in Brownsburg and all that. Oh, we lost Tiffany somewhere. That's all right. Spirit Airline got her. That's my conspiracy. Spirit Airline got Tiffany. They got Ed first. Now it's Tiffany's turn. So, hey, we're going to start out with the all-star of the Conspirafact tonight. Lucy Brenton, what you got?
Part of the conspiracy is, where is my conspiracy tinfoil hat? I'm not going to tell you. I'm taking conspiracy theories in the comments so you all can decide where it is. Well, I don't want to disappoint you once again. And so I've always thought Elon Musk was a little sus. And I don't think that people rise to the positions that they rise to with relatively little, relatively few barriers. Mm-hmm. And so everybody thinks he's got a rags to riches story, and they don't realize that his family owned emerald mines. So let's start there. I invite you to look at pictures of his mother, who has all kinds of pictures with one eye covered, which is a big Illuminati thing. But this has to actually do with the rebranding of Twitter as X. I would like all of you to simply take the X symbol that he has and duplicate it with a mirror image. And what you will find is the Masonic compass, and square.
Wow. That's okay. We're going to have to do 8-ball check on this one. So we're going to ask that same question. So if I were to do what Lucy says.
And Bill Gates is the one who told him to do that, just so we know that Bill Gates is ultimately.
Oh, there's even more on there. So if it does come up as correct, we'll see. Let's see what it says here. It says, you may rely on it.
Well,
8-ball has spoken.
All right, Lucy.
It's all right. It is, it's a conspiracy has been proven live on the show. So, Jordan, what do you have?
Well, I don't know if I can match yours. My conspiracy more has to do with the El Nino and El Nina. I honestly think that what we're seeing right now is another manipulation of weather that is happening again. And I truly do think that this manipulation of weather is solely to help either with food production or it is to cause either some type of wildfires. Well, Jordan, why are you saying that? Well, just recently, when they did the measurements and they took the studies and they looked at the ocean temperatures, they realized the temperatures were a heck of a lot warmer than what it should have been. Basically, virtually overnight, the ocean got 1 degree warmer. And so now that means that we're about to have an extremely strong hurricane season. But next year, they're predicting that temperatures will double what the temperatures are this time. So I think that they're trying to either clear giant forests out the way somewhere, or they're trying to burn another hole back into the ozone layer again. But they're using DARPA as usual to do it. So there's mine.
Wow, that one's good. Hold on. Let me check the Magic 8-ball to see if this is going to come true. Let's see what it says here. Please, this has been approved by Deloitte Touche, the accountants. Let's see. Come on. Very doubtful.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some. You're not Lucy, so don't try to be. So, Tiffany, I know you don't have a conspiracy, but a beauty tip, dating tip, dress tip. You were giving out dress tips about the collars and the belts. What do you have?
So today I was out knocking doors and campaigning, and I went to a house and I met an amazing 15-year-old. And when I knocked on the door, 2 dogs barked. One was really big and scared me. And then this chicken walked to the door on the inside. So I'm looking at 2 dogs and a chicken just kind of walked up. And then I'm like, what the heck? And so I end up talking to this kid. And I'm like, you have a chicken? I mean, like the whole time we were just talking about this chicken, I've never been really that close to a chicken before. And it was a nice, calm chicken. I'm sorry. He was a rooster. He had the red thing on. And so he just comes out and he's just clucking and walking. And he was absolutely beautiful. He was black with iridescent green. And he had on, his legs were like green and silvery. It looked like he had on silver boots. I mean, he was so cute. And then the little boy said, the teenager said, we have baby chicks too. I'm like, what? And so he's like, do you want to see one? I said, yeah. And so he went to get a baby chick, and I held a baby chick today for the first time ever. And it was just little and fuzzy in my head. And I said, well, what's his name? And he said, Nugget.
Well, I don't think they're going to vote for you. I'm sorry. You're supposed to be holding babies, not chickens. Come on.
I will send you pictures. But I said, hey, that's kind of wrong. He's like, yeah. But I thought it was hilarious. So that was my afternoon. That was the highlight of my day.
Yeah, I said, son, that's why I keep my feathers numbered for just such an emergency. So foghorn leghorn action there. Well, that's good. See, you dodged the conspiracy again by telling us that wonderful story. That is really, really good. I can't even 8-ball check that. I mean, what am I going to say? Is that a true story or not? I mean,
here's my conspiracy theory. I think more people should have farm animals because they're cute, but nobody wants us to because we know that we can eat them.
Son, let's ask the Magic 8-ball. I said, let's ask the Magic 8-ball if that's a good platform to have. Let's see what it says here. Should you have a platform that more people should have farm animals in their house? Let's see what it says.
If you can keep it inside and you're not affecting your neighbors,
Oh, you got the very doubtful too. So sorry, the Magic 8 Ball, very doubtful. We had definitely
It's
true,
big.
doubtful.
Listeners, I get it. But this chicken came to the door like he had business.
Yeah, well, hey, they got. If you ever seen roosters, they're really sort of active. They want to see what's going on, and you know what? Chickens have some of the best eyes of any birds. I mean, they. My chickens, as soon as they see me come out of the door with the food, they're like,
right,
like that. So they want to see what's going on, and they got to get that food. So I'm going to do a compilation of all these things here. I'm going to talk about Lucy's thing with the X. You know, I think it means, you know, something like that. And I think really what it means is, you know, what Jordan was talking about as far as the climate. You know, the X has got something to do with the climate. And then I'm going to bring it all home with this chicken thing. So actually, I believe that Elon Musk's advisor is a rooster. And I think that he's telling him what to do. And that's how we're getting to these things, you know. And the rooster's jealous of that little bird. So he said, hey, we're getting rid of that bird. We're putting the X in. We're going to make it a magical symbol that nobody really understands, but it's going to be true. And then it's going to affect the climate, which is very doubtful. So there you go. That's I just weaved together a bunch of garbage because I didn't.
So what, the chicken's trying to make it more warm for the eggs to incubate?
I just tried to bring it off. Yeah,
John, you could have given a beauty tip. You should have just told us to wear sunscreen.
That's true. Or don't go out in the peak sun.
Let's put it this way. I tried to hatch a good conspiracy, but it never hatched. So there you go. That'd be a good thing.
I just sent you my pictures with the chicken. With the
oh, you actually got the picture of the chicken? Well, we'll have to put that on the mouthwash. We'll have to put that on the mouthwash page then.
Oh, so sorry. Wait a minute, where's
that
the
looks
chicken?
like your thumb. Your thumb looks just like a chicken.
Look.
Oh, look at that.
It was so fun.
All right. Well, I don't think we can top that. So, hey, thanks for tuning in tonight. And hey, we'll see you again next week. I think we have Dan Stock coming on. We're going to talk about holding the legislature's feet to the fire.
Oh, I have one thing I'm supposed to do. So, as we all know, one of our most popular guests, Curtis Hill's running for governor. He released a press release yesterday or the day before about one of the things that he will do when elected governor. And it's about removing DEI programs and creating bridge programs so that people can truly work together and we can have more unity in our communities. So if you have a chance to read his press release, it's really groundbreaking and pretty monumental and a way to keep the state of Indiana on a whole different trajectory. So,
yeah. I think that this is going to get interesting because we have a lot of, let's say, establishment people that are in there. And we all know the establishment doesn't think a whole lot about old Curtis Hill. And, you know, he's obviously a friend of our show. And, you know, this is going to be interesting. Of course, we got to get through the Marion County races first, but you can already sense that it's heating up that part. And I'm sure we'll have some more folks on, you know, to talk about all that stuff. And let's see, there was something else I wanted to say, but I don't know. It's just been sort of a long show. My earpiece went out. I'm frazzled a little bit. So let's see. Oh, yeah, we're still on at 11 o'clock on Mondays, Channel 40. You can watch us there. And our usual outlets. And, oh, yeah, Adam's got some stuff in there. So anyway, hey, I'll see you all backstage in a minute. So let's go ahead and wind this thing up, and then we'll talk in a few. So everybody say, see you next week, same time.
Good night, Robert.
Yeah.